Today on AGetc Duane Toews takes us through the new cattle trace program. First, Brad White from Kansas State University gives an overview of the nuts and bolts of the program. Then we hear from Dr. Justin Smith, the Animal Health Commissioner for the state of Kansas. Next, hear from Barb Downey to give a cow-calf producer perspective. Then Brandon Depenbusch from the feedlot sector, and we'll end with Mike Samples representing the sale barns. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Duane Toews joining once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Brad White with the Beef Cattle Institute at Kansas State University. And Brad, Cattle Trace, a new pilot program here in Kansas that has a ton of potential for the cattle industry. Tell us a little bit about the Beef Cattle Institute and their part in that.
You bet. Hi, Duane. We're excited to be a part of the program, and really this Cattle Trace program is a collaborative effort. So there's several organizations that are involved as well as some private companies. One of the things that we really want to do is make Cattle Trace an independent third-party entity. So it is a combination of those groups that are involved, both the Beef Cattle Institute, Kansas State, some other folks at Kansas State, as well as Kansas Livestock Association, Department of Ag, and some individual private companies as well. So this program is going to kick off this fall. It's got 3 different objectives that we're looking at going through. One of them is, the first objective is to build the infrastructure. So a lot of work has been done with traceability. Not a lot of that has looked at the technology. What we're really evaluating is how we can track that data and track a calf all the way from the cow-calf side all the way through to the packer. And what we're doing is a little bit novel in that we're really focusing on making this hands-free. So we're using some new technology, and comparable to our K-Tag program here in Kansas, you go on the interstate, you get a sticker, put it on your truck, go under the scan, and it's pretty hands-free on your part. Similar is what we're setting up here. We're also just collecting minimal necessary data. So we're only looking at the data that we collect would be a sighting of that animal. So who it is, where he was seen, and what's the time date stamp. So with those 2 key components, it makes it different than a lot of the traceability programs that have been done in the past. And from that, we can get the disease traceability. So our first objective is to set up that goal, set up that system. The second objective, evaluate how well it works. So we're going to do some disease tracebacks, make sure we understand how well we can do it, how quickly we can do it. What we anticipate is we're going to be able to do it a lot more quickly and pain-free for everyone involved to be able to make it to track those cattle back. And from that, we can tell if there's a disease problem, we can answer it more rapidly for the industry. The third objective, and one of the more important ones, is what are the economics of this? So when we put it out there, and the economic question really is twofold. One, across the industry. So for the industry as a whole, what are the economics? And then we have to think about different sectors. So the sectors of the industry, the cow-calf, the stocker, the feedlot, the packer, each have different economic type programs and would have different economic impacts. So we want to see how the disease traceability program would impact them, and then operationally, what are some of their activities? How could they go and use a system like this that would be advantageous for them, also for the industry? So with those 3 objectives, we're starting the program. We're going to build the purpose-built infrastructure. We're going to test how well it works for disease traceback, and then we're going to look at the economics. So it'll be a 2-year project. The first year will kick off this fall. We're hoping to enroll 55,000 cattle that will go through the program. And we'll test that data starting next year. We'll also enroll some cattle next year, and then we'll look at the economics in concert with everything else. So that's in a nutshell, that's what we're looking to do.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source, together we grow.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Justin Smith, Animal Health Commissioner for the state of Kansas, talking about a new pilot program, Cattle Trace. Justin, tell us a little bit about the program and why the health department certainly would be interested in that.
Sure, Duane. So the initiative out of it came out of some conversations that happened last fall, and it's something that traceability, animal disease traceability, has always been on the minds of Kansas producers as well as the animal health division that I lead. And so it was an opportunity for us to come together and say, is there an opportunity to advance this initiative? And it kind of it was just kind of one of those things that came together and said, hey, let's try this, let's see where this goes, and so it's an opportunity that we have to advance the traceability in the Kansas and show that there is a pilot out there for it.
Talk a little bit about the importance of it. Traceability and cattle identification have been a discussion point for a number of years now on a national level, but really has never gotten any strong foothold. But when it comes to an animal disease incident, that's where the dollars really could pay off in this event.
Unbelievable, yes. With the magnitude of our operations today and the way that we move livestock today from place to place and just the dynamics of that, yes, traceability is going to be vital in our ability to respond and do it in a timely manner to an animal disease issue.
Most people don't really understand what the magnitude of that is and how many dollars ultimately are kind of wasted, if you will, chasing our tail versus a system where we actually would know where cattle are.
That's true. We right now, the way our system works is if we have an animal disease trace, we have to throw a really large net over a lot of animals out there, I should say, and operations. And so if at any time we can do traceability and narrow that net down, narrow that focus down, it saves everybody.
We think about the opportunity for Kansas really to kind of be a leader in this aspect. Ultimately, we hope that it goes well here, and we really can kind of set the tone for a national program potentially.
That is very true. So we took this challenge on because, one, we have every phase of the cattle industry in the state of Kansas. So it was a no-brainer in the realm that we took this initiative on, as well as it is being looked at. I mean, there's a watchful eye on this project across the nation, whether it be other states or the USDA in itself, to see is this an opportunity to advance this the traceability.
So, Justin, when we think about the opportunities all the way back to the producer level, it can be impactful for them as well, not only from the animal disease traceability side, but potential revenue gains for them as well.
That is very true. I mean, obviously, if we have to do a trace, there's certain requirements and certain things that producer is going to have to take care of, and we're going to have to come in and do, whether it be testing or surveillance or weather, and that's impactful on their operations from this aspect of just money cost as well as lost opportunities in being able to market their animals when they may need to or when they may want to. And so if we can do traceability and we can dismiss them, basically leave them out of the trace, that is in their best interest.
And we think about ultimately, we haven't had a significant animal disease outbreak within the United States of a virulent nature. But if it were to happen, certainly this would ease the process in trying to get ahead of that and ultimately stamping it out.
That is very true. It gives us another tool in our toolbox to be able to reach out there and find those animals that may be impacted and deal with them in an effort that we can stamp that disease out.
I'm Scott Thellman, and this is Juniper Hill Farms. Even though my parents weren't farmers, they bought this beautiful farm north of Lawrence in 1999. In 2010, I started growing vegetables on this land. Today, Juniper Hill Farms sells produce to wholesalers, grocers, and restaurants, and is focused on growing high-quality food that everyone can afford. Watch my story and the stories of other young Kansas food producers at kansaslivingmagazine.com/meetafarmer.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandering with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
Duane Toews joining you once again on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity at a pilot project kickoff event for cattle trace to catch up with Barb Downey, Downey Ranch Incorporated. And Barb, it sounds like as a producer, your ranch operation has decided, you know what, animal identification and traceability, it's what we want to be a part of.
It's absolutely bedrock important for our business, for our industry, that in the event we do have a disease outbreak, that we be able to trace it so that marketing of our cattle, of the entire chain cattle, is uninterrupted as much as it possibly can be.
We think about this new program and the pilot, there's a lot of folks that are involved for really a public-private partnership, and it appears typically those have been the ones that have been most successful across the gamut of government involvement.
That is what I'm most excited about on this project, Duane. It is really a ground-up driven project. We have producers at all levels. We have cow-calf operators like myself. We have sale barns. We have stocker operators. We have feed yards. We have packers. We have everybody. And we're the ones saying this is the system that we need in place, and this is how it needs to work for us. So instead of an entity telling us what we're going to do, we as cattle producers are deciding how we're going to run this system.
It's interesting. Animal identification has been discussed on a national level for a number of years, Barb, and we've always heard about how it can't happen or why it shouldn't. But Kansas has an opportunity here to really set the tone for the rest of the country, it looks like.
Our state is really unique in that we have a really strong representation in each segment of our business. So we are, I would say, the best ones to drive this bus.
You reference having each of those segments. My understanding is that the committee that really put the nuts and bolts of it together made sure that each segment of the industry was involved.
It is part of that drive for it to be producer directed. And so if you're going to know what's really going to work out on the farm or in the feedlot, you have to have those people at the table, and they are.
It really kind of started from the grassroots level. We had a chance to talk about KLA and their vote last fall. It was significant in its meaning.
It was huge. It's been something that you referenced that the industry has talked about for a number of years. And what got us off center was that policy change at the annual convention, the annual KLA meeting last December, where we voted that it should be KLA policy that we support a traceability program for disease management purposes.
Barb, any final thoughts about how you see it working for your family's ranch operation seamlessly, really, and maybe producing additional benefit in the end?
Oh, I'm excited about the possibilities. While it's not part of the system, I guarantee that we will be using that ability to monitor an animal's location within our ranch operations right off the bat. You know, this time of year, breeding season, do I know where all my bulls are? If I've got panels at a choke point, I know that each and every bull that I've got out there is reporting for duty. I see it in managing our calves. I see it in managing our cows. You talk to the guys in the feed yard, they're going to have all sorts of uses for it. The sale barn is going to have all sorts of uses for it. So while it is a program, and make no bones about it, it's for disease traceability, each of our different segments will use that ability to track an animal in ways we can't even stand here and predict today.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide. Presented by Lucas Oil. Featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV. The all-new Better Horses Network.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandring with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it, and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Brandon Depenbusch with ILS, Innovative Livestock Services. Brandon, tell us a little bit about the company, and we'll interesting to hear what the focus has been for you as a business.
Yep. Innovative Livestock Services is a group of feed yards that we operate in Kansas and Nebraska. The core of our business is feeding cattle. We also have a farming operation and several other operations that support our company. We've been in business for several years now, and we have a one-time capacity of 200,000 head. Our interest in being in cattle trace is from the standpoint of disease traceability. Disease traceability is important for all of us and for all the partner feed yards and companies that are part of what we're doing. A foot and mouth or foreign animal disease outbreak in our country would be absolutely devastating to all of our industries and all of our companies. So cattle trace will not prevent a foreign animal disease outbreak, but it'll allow us to quickly identify the problem and be able to isolate the problem and hopefully ultimately minimize the damage that would be done with such a outbreak should we ever have one.
We think about the Cattle Trace pilot program going on here in Kansas. A number of partners part of that from the state all the way down to private industry, which your company would be a part of. We haven't talked a lot about, ultimately it is a disease traceability program. Your company's been tracking animals and performance for a long time, and this, in effect, ultimately as an end goal, might provide some opportunities for producers in that manner as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The sole purpose of cattle trace is disease traceability, period. That is absolutely the goal of our program. But there is certainly an opportunity for producers, innovative producers, to come along and use the network or the platform of which we've developed or which will be developed through this process to use that to share information between segments to help us all to get better, share carcass data up and down the line, whatever the case may be, that we can create value chains for our consumers so they know exactly where their products come from. So absolutely, it's going to provide a platform and a network, hopefully, that we can add some value. Other people can add values down the line, but that is not the purpose of Cattle Trace. Cattle Trace is solely a disease traceability program.
We think about that in the feed yards that you work with directly, hundreds of trucks literally daily that come into your yards from across the country. It only seems to make logical sense that in trying to reduce the ramifications of an animal disease outbreak, were it to happen, that the feed yard is a part of that.
Yeah, the feed yards, nearly all animals, I would say, would come through a feed yard of some sort before they go to a packer and to be harvested. So yeah, absolutely being able to track those animals and being able to trace them back in a disease outbreak, so we'd be able to know what animals are susceptible. I think the thing that makes the cattle trace program the most valuable, or project the most valuable, is should we have a disease outbreak here or at a sale barn, we'd be able to trace animals back to the sale barn and then back to a feed yard, and then we'll be able to keep our eyes on them and to be able to do some early detection on them, because speed is a key when we're dealing with the foreign animal disease. So what animals do we need to keep an extra eye on? That would be the benefit of a quick, traceable program.
Summer is busy at Tarwater Farm and Home. We have just about everything you'll need for your summer projects, and we're consistently competitively priced. Tarwaters can help make your grass and garden grow, and we have a huge variety of equipment to cut it. If you have a farm, Tarwaters has the products and equipment to keep it going strong. And our expanded parking lot will make it even more convenient to shop. So come see us at Tarwater Farm and Home in Topeka.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Duane Toews joining you once again with Ag AM in Kansas. And while at a kickoff event, an opportunity to catch up with Mike Samples, Farmers and Ranchers Livestock at Salina. Mike, the cattle trace program, an animal disease traceability program with individually identified cattle, going to be a part of Kansas's future, I understand. Talk a little bit about, from a sale barn's perspective, what your concerns were going in and what you think we can accomplish with a program like this.
Well, we talked about this for years and years, and we just never have got anything implemented to go ahead. I think it's a simple thing. Producers are just going to have to deal with identifying their cattle. Whatever we choose, a tag, a clip, whatever we do, we're going to have to identify these cattle so their traceability can start with the cow-calf producer and then go all the way to the packer.
We've seen it a number of different programs, whether it be the Bangs program on heifers and replacements. The sheep industry has got their program as well, but we've talked a lot about it at a national level, but everybody doesn't see it the same when it comes to the cattle industry.
Well, I think common sense is going to have to come into play, Duane. We've got to come with a program that makes sense for everybody, whether you're a cow-calf producer, a backgrounder, or whatever. There's going to have traceability. Or someday we're going to wake up and we're going to have a problem and we're going to have no idea how to deal with it.
Talk a little bit about one of the big issues that came up from the national perspective a couple of years ago was the speed of commerce. And when we think about where do the majority of the cattle go through, they go through a sale barn at some point in their lifetime. Being able to do that and not slow you down is a big part of this.
It is. Now, years ago when we talked about this, we put in a three-alley reader system in our barn. So we've got that there to use. Of course, the technology has changed a lot in the last 10 years. So we should be able to read these tags and not slow down our commerce of speed of getting our market still going fast and selling a lot of cattle every hour. So
we think about that to just give those that don't understand a perspective. Say we have a draft of 40 head maybe that comes into the ring there at your sale barn, and the buyers say hold 2. Then what happens so that we know who went where?
Well, what you do then, 38 of the cattle would go past. Those tags would be read. The other 2 would come back in the ring. We'd sell them to whatever buyer. They'd go out and they would be read when they left the ring then.
And ultimately then the computer in the office keeps track of all that theoretically. We'll see with the pilot program. That's part of what a pilot program does to figure out if there's problems. But then ultimately you can send that data on.
Yes. No, there's no doubt. We did it years ago when we were talking about having EID cattle. We did that, and we were getting a 90-some% read then. And like I said, the technology is so much greater now with these high frequency tags and stuff. We should be in good shape to get a very high percentage of all the tags read and know where the cattle are going.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.